Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another Ask the Vicar. Hope you're doing really well. It's going to be a slightly shortened one today, as I've got an appointment to go to in a little while, but I hope you're really well. We've got two great questions to kick off with today. If you're, let us know though, wherever you are viewing us from, and do get your questions in to the comments section as quickly as possible today. But if you want to send a question in for a future week, you can just send one in to vicar@stmarymagdalene.co.uk. That's vicar@stmarymagdalene.co.uk, or you can just send one in on Facebook or through the website. So I hope that, as I say, you're doing really, really well today. I'm just going to adjust the lighting slightly. I hope that's better. It's looking very dark on my screen today, but I hope it's not too dark for you. Try that one. So we're going to kick right off today with a great question that has come in, which is simply this: do you feel safe going out? Great question. I don't know why the person felt to send it in kind of particularly, but it's a very good question because I think it's an issue that a lot of us are struggling with right at the minute. Do we feel safe even leaving our houses? My first simple answer to that question is yes, I do. I'm not stepping out of my house feeling like, oh my goodness, I think I'm going to get COVID-19. But I am definitely stepping out of my house cautiously and thinking about kind of who I'm mixing with, kind of where I'm going, kind of taking precautions in terms of kind of making sure my hands are sanitized and all those kind of things. I'm generally speaking avoiding very crowded places, although there aren't that many of them around at the moment. But I don't have a particular sense of fear with going out either. So it's not kind of really kind of holding me back in a sense, or bugging me particularly. But yeah, so I'm not going out with a sense of fear, but I am definitely kind of thinking about what I'm doing and kind of being wise about it as well. So that's kind of definitely on my mind. What I would definitely say to people: go out, but be cautious about it. And I say avoid places where there are loads and loads of people, and kind of think about what you're doing, but definitely go out. Otherwise, our own homes can become places almost like prisons of fear, where we think, oh my goodness, there's something that's just going to kind of catch me out at any point, or this virus is going to get me. So yeah, definitely go out, but be thoughtful about it. Okay, second question that has come in, which is a really, really honest question, and I'm really glad you've sent it in, because we all, anyone who's prayed at any point in their life, whether you would call yourself a follower of Jesus, whether you would just call yourself a spiritual person, as I say, as most of us have done, you've prayed at some point in your life, you have probably, as we all have, asked this question, and it's simply this, and the question is: God isn't answering my prayers. In fact, it's more of a statement than a question, but let's be honest about it, we've all been there. I have prayed for stuff that I look back on now and I kind of think, yeah, God, I don't think God answered that. And then I stop and think about it and I think, well, he did, but it was definitely not in the way that I wanted him to. It was not in the way that I possibly had hoped for, but more times than not, it's been for my benefit. And then the ones that I look back on and think that isn't for my benefit, I kind of just have to leave with him and trust him with it. Let me give you, I guess, in my life, the biggest example, which is that back in 2003, my mum passed away. And so here we are 17 years later, and we prayed like crazy that my mum would beat cancer, that my mum would be healed. There's a huge story around our wedding when my mum was very ill, and we saw God really kind of come through that for her, and she was able to be at the wedding, and then 4 months later she died. And to be honest with you, 17 years later, it really still bugs me. It probably bugs me more now 17 years later than it did at the time. And the reason being is now having family and now having grandchildren, it's just knowing what a wonderful grandmother she would be to her grandchildren, and it thinks, oh, God, why didn't you? And that for me is one of those I have to leave in His hands, and really kind of say, okay, God, I don't understand, I don't know why you didn't heal my mum, but I just have to trust you in that moment and leave it with Him. I do think the classic things with prayer, though, we're praying is God is in control and is doing the classic three, one of the classic three. Sometimes He says yes immediately to our prayers and we see dramatic answers. Sometimes He says no because He sees the bigger picture. And actually, sometimes the things we're asking for, actually, we might think they're right for us, but actually they're not. And often the really annoying one is wait as well. And we're all really, really bad at waiting. I'm terrible at it. It's the classic prayer of never ask God for patience, because He'll give you something to be patient for. And the other thing to go, if you feel like you're not seeing any kind of answer, is to simply persist. Jesus told a story about a widow. And why He told a story about a widow was, again, in that time, widows were seen as the lowest in society. And He talks about this widow who kept on pestering a judge in her town for justice. And the judge eventually answered this widow's prayer because of her persistence. And why did Jesus tell us that? Because He just wanted to give us an example that we just need to be persistent. He doesn't go into all the reasons for it. There are plenty that are talked about in Scripture, but He just says to keep on praying. So if you're in that situation right now where you're kind of like, God isn't answering my prayers, just keep going. There's a Pentecostal pastor in the centre of London who has this great phrase, and he simply says, it's not over till God says it's over. And so often we kind of give up in prayer because we think God's not answering, when actually He's just asking us to keep going and keep pressing into Him. So thank you so much for that question, and do just keep going, keep persevering, and also trust that God knows the bigger picture, and God has got your life in the palm of His hand because He loves you and He's working out the bigger picture for you. Okay, and questions coming from my sister. Marvellous, thanks Liz. Does the fact that God is allowing the pandemic to cause so much suffering make you doubt He is in control? I think answer to that question very simply is no, because there's so many things in the world that cause untold suffering, and God is still very, very much on the throne. He is in control. I don't understand a lot of it, why He allows the suffering to happen. I know we live in a broken world, that kind of sin has infected the world around us, and the world we live in is not perfect in any way. Perfection will come when we'll be in heaven. But I just know, and every time I go back to the cross and see Jesus suffering with us, and it's one of the most extraordinary things about God, that in each and every situation, He draws alongside us and He is with us. He said, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. All of Jesus's early followers, as far as we know, had pretty horrific ends to their life, but they kept trusting Him and following Him. And we know, obviously, that they're in glory with Him now. Often we have this life, I think, far too much in focus, that this life is going to be difficult. The Bible describes us as being aliens and strangers in this world, because we've got a better world to head for. And I think the most thing is that knowing God is with us in it. And just trusting Him. Liz, then a follow-up question. If you are utterly fed up with the pandemic and just want your normal life back and it is making you miserable, again, I would just give the same kind of answers, really, that we just got to trust and sit and rest and hope. And I think we all do. We all want life back to normal. But I imagine when we lived through World War II, there were people there wanting their lives to be back to normal, and they went through 6 years of it, and we've gone through a few months, and we've been incredibly fortunate, and we're incredibly blessed, and we live in a very blessed but very small part of the world, and others go through far, far worse situations than us, and we just have to trust and keep going and know that God is for us. Scripture is full of God's people time and time being in exile, feeling that God had abandoned them, went through years of hardship. But the story the whole way through is that God never leaves us, never abandons us. And if we cry out to him, if we're honest with him, he will show himself even more to us and bring us through. Yeah, these are difficult. These are really tough days. But let's keep trusting and keep going, people. Okay, I'm really sorry that I've got to end it there for today. Been short and sweet, but thank you so much for being live with us today. Thank you for your questions. They've been really, really good. Thank you for those who sent them in. Thank you for those that appeared in the comments section. We'll be back again same time next week with Ask the Vicar. In the meantime, again, keep those questions coming in, vicar@stmarymagdalene.co.uk, or just pop them on the Facebook page or through the website. Until next time, see you again very soon. Look out for some more thoughts for the day. We've got other services coming out this week as well. And then join us again at 10 o'clock on Sunday for our online service. And also our prayer meeting on Thursday night, and also Beer and Bible for the men as well. So look out for those. As I say, great to have been with you this afternoon. Sorry, it's been a short one today, but we'll see you again very, very soon.